yesterday we shared on YouTube. So check Western National on YouTube, you'll see it. Or if you're in the WhatsApp platform, check the WhatsApp platform, you'll see the link to watch yesterday's training. However, if you are not in the WhatsApp platform, a contact number will be sent to you by the end of today, so that a message for it to be incorporated in the WhatsApp platform. Yeah, Yeruma, I'm handing over to you, please. Michael, what's your question? Please be brief and be fast.
Hello.
Yeah, Michael, go on. Michael, unmute your microphone and ask the question. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me check that. I think maybe it's based on the setting.
Hello.
Yeah, Yerima, we can hear you, but your volume is very low.
Okay. I'm sharing my screen. Can you be able to see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen, but for the volume is very low. Your audio is...
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Go on. Okay, I have a question, two questions actually. So the first one is if you are learning Python for system for um automation, yeah, you're learning Python for automation. Is there any other program you need to learn alongside? That's the first question. Then, is there a way to write a Python program and link it to Einstein high system simulation environment, something like that, maybe to automate a process or something?
Please
Okay,
come again.
Come again.
Okay, I said I have two questions. The first one is this: if you are learning Python for automation, is there any other programming language you need to learn alongside to be more effective, or just Python? That's the first question. Then the second question is, can you write a program and link the program to Einstein HYSYS, that's Einstein HYSYS simulation software, maybe to automate a process? Did you get it?
Yeah, question is
You
respond.
I get your
I
question.
get your question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Python is actually so good for automation, right? You can just use Python alone for automating your tasks, right? So let me just go ahead and fix the issues that we were having with our PyCharm, right? So I hope I'm audible enough, right? You guys can hear me loud and clear, right?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. So in order to fix the problem that we are having with PyCharm, so there are two main causes for such a problem to occur. The first one is either you forgot to add Python to your environment variable. So in order to check whether Python is added to environment variable, you can just go ahead and search for CMD, which is command prompt. Open your command prompt and then type the word Python and then press enter. Hope you can see my screen. So if you see the word, if you see Python 3.7 return to you, that means that Python has already been added to path. But if you do not see Python 3.7 here, or maybe, sorry, Python cannot be recognized as an internal or external command, then Python is not added to your path variable. So in order to fix that, just go to you just go to your local drive. You just come to your computer and then
Please,
click on your local
Yarima,
drive.
be audible. Can't hear you clearly.
Okay, so you can't hear me.
We can hear you, but not clearly. Your voice is kind of low.
Okay, but I'm wearing a body mic. I wonder why you guys are not hearing me.
We can hear you clearly now.
You can hear me clearly now.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So let's continue. So you go to your C drive. You go to your C drive and then click on users, double click on users. Then for me, MSEK Rima, this is my name. For maybe on your computer, it's gonna show your name here. Then click on folder that's your profile name. Like for me, I'll click on that. Then you look for app data, which is located here for me, app data. Double click on app data, then double click on local, this local folder. Click on local, and then you look for Python. Sorry, then you double click on programs. Then you below your programs, you can see the Python folder. So you double click on Python folder. So for me, I have two Python installed in my machine. I have Python 3.7 and I have Python 3.10. So I'll be using Python 3.7. Then you double click on Python 3.7 and you see all the Python files and packages in this folder. So the next thing you're going to do is come down to this address bar, click on here. You are going to see the address for this location. So see users, your name, app data, local programs, Python 3.7. So you need to copy this file location. You need to copy it. You right click and then you click on copy. Or you can just use a shortcut, Control C to copy. After copying, then you minimize your window. Then come to your search bar and then you search for edit. So then you select edit the system environment variables. Then you click on that. After clicking on that, then you come to environment variables below this window. Environment variables, you click on that. Then use variables for then my name and then system variables. So you just click on new. Then variable name, you can type anything. You can type Python 3.7. You can type anything as your variable name. What matters is the value, variable value. Then here, you paste the location, Control V, or you right click and then you paste. After pasting the location, you just go ahead and press OK. So for me, I've already set my environment variable, so there's no need to set another one again, so that I'm not going to confuse my path variables. So after clicking OK, your variable is going to be set. For me, I have my Python 3, as you can see here. You see Python 3, and here is the variable value, which is users, my name, Python, which is just the location for Python in your memory. Then you click OK. You come down, you click OK. So for you to verify that your system can now be able to recognize where Python is installed in your machine, you come back to your command prompt. Let me close the command prompt and open it one more time. You can also search for command prompt by just searching for CMD, enter, and then type Python, and then or Python version, and then press enter. Sorry, or just type Python, press enter. So you see Python 3.7 is installed in my machine. So now I can even run some Python programs, say like print hello and press enter. You see hello is printed on my command prompt. So that means that my computer can be able to recognize Python commands. Python interpreter is being set in my environment variables. So there's another problem. If this one does not fix your problem, there's a second solution to that. So the second solution, you need to go to PyCharm. Maybe let's try to create a new project, and then let's say test as the name of our new project. Then you collapse this menu, and then if you click on pip, this one pip. So maybe you're having a problem of pip env executable not found. So you cannot be able to run your Python programs. So in order to fix this second issue, we need to go back to Python.
We lost you in audio. You can't hear you again, Yerema. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Very low, very low. Your voice is very, very low. Very low. I'm struggling to hear you. It's very, very low.
Okay.
It's still low.
Hmm? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, a bit clearly, but not perfectly clearly.
Okay, let me set my computer's microphone. Okay, how about now?
Perfect.
Okay, you can perfectly hear me now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm selecting my second mic. Maybe I'm having a problem with the first mic. So in order to fix this second issue, so we need to go back to PyCharm's website. So let me go back. So you need to search no pip environment executable was found PyCharm. And then this will direct you to configure a pip environment PyCharm. You just click on that. After clicking on that, configure a pip environment. Then you come down. So run the following command to ensure that pip is in your machine. So open your command prompt, cmd. Let me split my screen for your own convenience. So let's run pip version, pip, pip version. So I have pip 21.3.1 installed in my machine. So that means I have pip already. So we scroll down. So the next command is you copy this command, pip install user pip environment. You just to save time, you just copy and then you paste it to your terminal and then you press enter. And then you allow it to do its thing. It's going to install whatever. Then you come down. So for your convenience, you might add the user's base binary directory to path environment variables. So Windows, run. If you're on Linux, you click here and then you follow this command. If you're on Windows, you click here and you follow this command. So to save time, we're just going to copy this command. Right click, copy, come to your command prompt, and then you paste Control V, press enter. Allow it to do its thing. So as you can see, then you come down, replace side packages with script in this part to receive string for adding to path variable. So we're just going to copy this command again. So we are just copy pasting. We are not doing any magic. So come to your CMD, you paste, and then you press enter. So as you can see, I received a success message, success, specified value was saved. So if you receive this success being printed out on your terminal, I'm 100% sure that you're good to go. So next, set pip environment for a new Python project. Initiate or create a new Python project in a directory. So you can basically go back to your PyCharm file, new project, and then set your project name like test, and then you collapse this menu. Then you're going to see, you come down, you click on pip environment, select pip environment, then PyCharm is automatically going to detect your pip environment. As you can see, auto detected, then C users, whatever has been set. Then you can go ahead and click on create new window. So you just give it some seconds to create and then make your packages ready for you. Successfully created virtual environment. So setting up pip environment, as you can see, it's setting up pip environment. So and now you're good to go. You just directory, right click, new, you can name it anything you want. Let's say test.py. Don't forget to add the .py extension. So and then you click enter. So and then you're good to go. You just collapse this menu. Let's try and print something to the terminal. Print all in lowercase, then a string hello. I am now fixed. So you click on run, you select the name of your file, and then hello, I am fixed. So that simply indicates that our pip environment is set and now you're good to go. Everything is going to be fixed after that. So in case you miss some steps, you can be able to watch the video again. I am 100% sure that this is going to solve all your problems concerning Python, adding Python to path, and setting up your PyCharm. So any other problem again?
For now, I don't think any. Those who have these problems will visit Facebook or our YouTube page after the training to follow the process gradually and post such that they can
Okay.
resolve it and then follow up with us. So I think we can go ahead with today's task.
Okay. So I had some people were talking about that they cannot still be able to solve their assignments or what.
Yeah, you can just go over it.
Okay. So that means we can go ahead with our class for today. So in our today's class, we are going to be so sorry. I gave you guys assignment to check for primitive data types in Python, right?
You are right.
Um, okay. So let's just do that. So I asked you guys what is so in our today's class we are going to be covering primitive data types Python, which are so in Python we have some primitive data types which are let's for example set a variable string and then assign it the value let's say so as you can see this is actually a string.
We can't hear you. I don't know if you're talking, Yerima. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm looking at I can hear you clearly. I don't know if you can hear
Hello?
me as well. Hello, I can hear you. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, they're very low.
No, I don't think it's the problem is maybe the problem is with with the network, or I don't know. But can you be able?
Can
Can you
hear
hear
you
me
now.
clearly now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hmm?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you
Okay.
now.
So okay. So this is actually a string. A string is a sequence of characters. So let's create another variable h and assign it the value, let's say 20. So as you can see, this is another data type that is built into Python, and this is called an integer. An integer is a whole number. So whole number is an integer, and we have another data type, let's say GPA, and assign it the value 4.9 GPA. So this any number with a decimal place is called a float in Python. So it's another data type, floating point number is a float. Any number with a decimal place is called a float. And we have another primitive type. Um, let's, for example, create a variable graduated and assign the value 2. So this is called Boolean data type in Python. So whenever you see true or false, it's called a Boolean data type. Note that this false begins with a capital letter. So if you go ahead and put small letter, Python interpreter doesn't know what to do with that because Python is a case-sensitive programming language. But if we change this to capital letter, so Python now knows that we are trying to define a Boolean value of false. So in order to create a string, you can create a string with single quote. You can also create a string with double quotes or with triple quotes. This is a string. So we have another advanced primitive types, which are lists, tuples, and dictionaries. But we are going to cover this, maybe we are going to cover them tomorrow. So for today, we are going to be covering some of the useful function of strings in our program. So let's go ahead and start with string. So in order to define a string, you just use your double quote, and then you go ahead and type anything that you want. This is a string. Then you can save it to location by creating a variable, let's say name, and assign it the value. So there's another function that I told you guys about, which is the type function. So if you want to know what data type this is, it's a type function that is built into Python. So we can go ahead and sorry, we can go ahead and use the type function by using a print statement and then passing the type function, calling the type function, and then passing it the name of a variable. It accepts the name of your variable or the name of your data type as the parameter. So let's go ahead and print, run our program. So, and we get a return value of str, class of str. Str basically means string. So we're going to cover classes maybe in our advanced class, maybe next tomorrow or maybe before we finish this class, we're going to cover classes. So strings, for you to access value in a string, there's an index attached to string. So for example, this string has an index. Each character you see in a string, like these single characters, most of companies, whenever they want to hire you and they want to test your Python skill, these are the kind of tricky questions that they ask you. They can give you a string and ask you some tricky question about string because they are very sensitive. For example, there's an index to each and every character that you're seeing on your screen. For example, the index of this first character starts with 0. The second one is 1, the third one is 2, 3, 4, and so on. So Python indexing starts from what? From 0. not like other programming languages. It starts from 0. So in order to access the first character of our string, this word is called bracket notation. Bracket notation. They can just give you this kind of string and ask you to select the first character that you see in the string. So in order to select characters using the index of the string, which is just the location of each and every character, we can use the print command just to show, and then the name of your variable, which is just the location where the string is stored, and then we can use the bracket notation, and then select the index of the character that we want. For example, if we want to print out, if we want to show the index of this character, we can use 0, since Python indexing always starts with 0. So let's run our program, and we get T, which is the first index of our character. So let's put 1 and run our program. As you can see, we have H. So there's negative indexing in Python. Negative indexing. So whenever you put negative indexing, -1, and run your program, you get the last, like you're moving backwards. You're simply moving backwards. You get the last character of your string. Likewise, when you put -2 and run your program, you receive second to the last character. So note that in Python, even empty space is considered as a character. For example, let's see 0, 1, 2, 3, and then the empty space is 4. So let's try and select the fourth index. You see, we receive an empty space in our terminal. So that simply verifies that Python considers even an empty space as a character. So this what is called slicing. You can also access values by slicing. You can slice by using, for example, you can say, I want you to give me the value of name from the first index, which is 0, to maybe maybe the fifth, 0 to 5. So if you run this program, you receive this. Let's go ahead and count the index.
Irima, we lost you again. Check your audio. Check your microphone, sorry.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can't hear you yet.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
It's still very low.
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, a bit better.
So maybe the problem is with the network, because I'm being audible down here. So I think the problem is with the network.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Okay. But you can clearly see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we asked Python to return this value from 0 to 5. And we got this THIS as our return value. So let's count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but not 5. So Python interpreter, whenever you slice and then you put maybe from 0 to 5, Python interpreter returns all the value from 0 to 4, excluding the last one, excluding the fifth one. So it uses the fifth one as a stopping point. It does not include the fifth one. It does not include the last one. So if I go ahead and say I want the 0 to 6, and then run my program one more time, I get this and then I. And if you count the index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you see, letter S is actually 6 index, but I don't get the letter S here in my terminal, which simply means that Python stops executing once it reaches the 6, the nth value of your indexing. So you can also use negative indexing, like from minus 2 to minus 3, sorry, to minus 5. Don't get anything because maybe it's an empty space. Let's try minus 4. You still don't get anything. Sorry, minus 4 to minus 2, you get RI. So Python indexing always starts from right to left. Whenever you're trying to access from left to right using negative indexing, it's not going to return anything for you. So you start from right to left. So you see I'm starting from minus 4, which is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, which is R, up to minus 2, which is I. So this is very key. You guys really need to be careful with this one because whenever you're doing any Python test or any Python exam or applying for any Python job, these are the kind of tricky questions they ask you. They're just going to give you a string and then ask you some few questions about slicing and the rest. So the next thing we are going to cover about string is, for example, you can assign a new value to a string. For example, I can say name. And here, let me prove to you guys that strings are immutable. I can say name, name 0, name 2. Let's try and print name 2 to verify. We get I. So name 2. Let's create a variable name 2 and assign it the value name 3. Oh, yes, becoming name 2 equal to let's say P. So if we run this program, we get an error. str object does not support item assignment. So strings are immutable. Immutable means once you set them, you cannot change them. You cannot change them. So you see, I was trying to assign name 2 simply means name, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So I was trying to replace this I with P, and then I received an error which says name 2, which is P, str, which is string object, does not support item assignment. Once you set a string, there's no way you can change it again. So strings are immutable. Immutable is a programming term which simply means that you cannot be able to change them once you set them. So there's another function attached to a string. For example, let's say you're trying to collect maybe usernames from a website or something. So let's say let's create a variable username and assign it the value and collect the value from an input prompt. Enter your name. So let's go down and print username after collecting the name from the user. Enter your name. Let me try and enter Nuesa and press enter. So as you can see, I get Nuesa. Let's run the program one more time. And I'm going to write Nuesa, maybe some letters capital letter and some letters small letter. And then run my program one more time. Nuesa, and press enter. You see, I received Nuesa. So allow you to validate the input that you're receiving from your users. Let's say, for example, you only want lowercase or you only want uppercase from your user, and you cannot control that because people might make a mistake and enter some lowercase, some uppercase, there's no way you can control your user interaction. So there's a nice function that is built into Python that you can be able to validate the input that you're collecting from the user before saving it maybe to your database. Let's say, for example, username. Let's print this username. Print username dot popper. Enter your name. Let me enter my name with a capital letter. Sorry, you see, I get my name with a capital letter. So this is like a form of validation. And likewise, if I want to receive the name from the user, maybe in lowercase, I can be able to do that. There's a function for that again. So you just add, using the dot notation, you just add dot lower. Username, which is the name of your variable, and then you're calling this function, which is the dot lower function, upon the username by using the dot notation. Don't worry, when we get to functions, we are going to cover that. But for now, this dot operator is just invoking, is just calling this dot lower function upon this variable.
We lost your audio just now. Check your audio again, your microphone.
No, my mic is okay. I think the problem is with the network. Can you hear me?
We lost your audio and we can't still hear you.
How about now? How about now? Can you hear me?
Perfect. You can go ahead.
Okay. You can hear me perfectly, right?
Yeah, but a bit lower.
I think the problem is with my network because I'm being audible down here.
And the voice is going low and low and low and low again.
Hmm? Maybe the problem is with the network. Let me change it to my desk mic and see.
What about your internal system control? Have you checked your system control mic volume?
Yeah, it's set to high.
From this thing, control panel, you go to the sound manager and the recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's go ahead. It's okay now. Let's go ahead.
Okay. You know, I'm actually, I have two mics connected to my computer, so and I don't think the problem is with the mic. So, but right now I'm using my built-in computer's microphone. Hmm?
It's okay.
So I
Let's
think
go
the
ahead.
problem. Okay, I think the problem is maybe with my network.
Okay, let's go ahead. Later we'll check that out.
Okay. So we are invoking this lower function. We are calling upon this lower function on this our username variable. So if we go ahead and run our program, enter your name. Let's say, let me enter Nuesa in capital letter and then press enter. You see, I received Nuesa in small letter. Let's run the program one more time. Let's say I enter my name, maybe some capital letter and then some in small letter. You see, this N is small letter and this U is in capital letter. So if I press enter, you see, the function or Python interpreter automatically converts it to small letter. So it's a form of like validation. It's a very handy function whenever you go deep down. Maybe you're doing web development, maybe using Django framework, and you want to validate the input that you want to get from your users. So before saving it maybe to your database or showing it in their profiles. So this is how we go about it. So there's another nice function that comes with Spring. So maybe if you want to check if something exists in a string or some characters exist. Let's say, for example, let's define a variable, let's say game, and assign it the value. This is a nice game. So let's print, let's say, for example, nice in game. Understand? So let's set this nice as a string, nice in game. So what we are basically doing here is we're asking Python interpreter whether this nice um, word exists in this variable. Nice in game. Python is like plain English. So is there this nice word inside this game variable? So Python is going to check that for you. If you run this program, you see, we get a Boolean variable telling us that, yeah, truly it exists. This is what maybe some programmers use in order to detect maybe your keyword. Let's say, for example, you're using dirty words, maybe in chat rooms, or maybe this is how Google scans or whatever you're typing in order to know if there are certain keywords in what you're doing. Let's say this is a bad word. Then, for example, as a programmer, you can say bad in game. So if you run the program, you get true. So let's look for something that is not in here. So let's say good, good in game. If we run the program, we see false. So this is another handy function um, that is built into Python. You just tell, you just define, or maybe you just write the word that you want to check, and then use the in operator, and then the name of the variable where the string is stored, and then Python is going to do its magic. So, and maybe this another built-in function. Maybe you want to check the length of the word. So sometimes maybe when you're doing some validation, maybe when you're creating a website, maybe you want to do some validation. You want to restrict maybe users' input to certain limit. So you can do that as well. So using the len function that is built into Python. So we can say print len, invoking the len function, then you pass the variable name game as a parameter. So if you run your program one more time, you get 18. So 18 is the length of this variable. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, with the space 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you see 18. So the length of this string is 18. So you can use conditional statements in order to check the length maybe of user's input or anything. If the length is up to some certain characters, then maybe you delete or you stop giving them access to something or that. You can do anything with that. So and there's another built-in function. For example, I really forgot this nice something. Let's say you want to write mommy's boy. So and then using maybe you want to write mommy's boy. So as you can see, we are confusing Python interpreter here because whenever you start a string, you start with a single quote and then end with a single quote, or with a double quote and end with a double quote. So because of this single quote that we use here to indicate this letter S as a mommies, so Python interpreter is confused that you cannot be able to use it. So this variable, this string ends here, and then we start a new string here. So Python interpreter is basically showing us that there's an error here. If we run this program, we can be able to see the error. We see invalid syntax. That means we have violated the rule. So in order to get away with that, there's what is called an escape sequence. You come here, then you put a backslash. You see, you put a backslash right before the single quote, and then Python interpreter now understands that you want to just add a single quote before the S. So if you go ahead and print game, which is the name of the variable, you see mommy's boy, you don't receive any error. So these are called escape sequence in Python. Or there's another way. There's another way to do that as well. You can use double quote and then mommy's boy. So you see, you start with a double quote and then you end with a double quote. So Python also accepts that. So you don't need to use any escape sequence. But whenever you're using a single quote to define your string, single quote like this, you must put an escape sequence, which is a / before the single quote. If not, the program is going to throw an error. So there's another built-in function that is built into strings, which is called formatted strings. So in order to write it, maybe you want to dynamically welcome a user. For example, maybe you design a website and then you want to dynamically greet the user. For example, when the user enters his or her name, then maybe he's going to see like welcome, then the name of the user. So you can do that dynamically using formatted string. Let's say, for example, username. Let's define a variable username and assign it the value. We collect the name from an input and then set a prompt. Enter your name. So we want to dynamically maybe greet the user. So we can define a variable greeting and then assign it the value. So here is where the magic happens. We can use formatted strings. So you can create a formatted string by using, maybe you use double quotes and then a bracket. You just put curly braces. After your curly braces, there's a function which is called the format function. So in order to call the function, you just use the format, then you open your bracket, then you put this variable name in the function, username. So if you like, you can put hello before the curly braces and then the format. Let's run the program. Enter your name, Luisa. Sorry, we did not print anything. That is why we are not receiving. Print greeting. Enter your name, Luisa. You see, hello, Luisa. So what is happening here is we are defining this curly braces. So Python interpreter is going to see that this is a formatted string. So in between these curly braces, it is going to call this the format function, and whatever that is in between these parentheses or brackets is going to be filled inside these curly braces. So for example, if you go ahead and put anything in between these brackets, it's going to automatically be filled into these spaces. So this function is also very, very handy. And you can actually use two. Let's say, for example, you can add another one. Let's say, let's use this as first name. First name. Enter your, let's say, first name. And then come down to the second line and then last name. We are going to be using an input to collect last name as well. Last name or second name. Enter your second name. So we're going to be using these two curly braces. The format First one is the first name. We pass the first name, and then we put comma, and then last name. So let's go ahead and run the program. Enter your first name, Nuesa. Enter your last name, engineers. So hello, Nuesa engineers. You see, you can add as many curly braces as you want, and then you just put whatever that you want to put to this location in this format function. You just add a comma, you just add a comma, and then you add. So this is another handy function that is built into strings. So I think it's already time. Let me not give you guys a lot of stuff to digest. I think this is okay for you guys for today. I'm going to be giving you guys maybe time maybe to ask some few questions.
Yeah, I'm with you, Yerma. Thank you very, very much. So we are now open to questions. Please, if you have questions, please show your hand, indicate, and then you ask. We have 5 minutes for that exercise. Please, anybody with questions? Somebody is asking, when doing the negative, aren't we starting from 0, like 0, -1, -2, stuff like that?
No, whenever we're doing the negative, we are starting from the last one. This is the rule that is built into Python, and you guys need to be very, very careful with that, because I've gone through a lot of Python exams and tests, and most of the questions they ask is pertaining this slicing and indexing. So they use that question in order to trick you. So please do pay attention to that.
Okay, thank you. Any other question? You can drop in the chat room, or you show your hand up and we'll call you to unmute your mic and ask. Can you link a Python program to Aspen IC simulation software, say for automation? I think you had answered this question from the beginning now when somebody asked. Can you link a Python program to Aspen IC? Yeah, I think that has been answered already. Yeah. Is there any other question we're having, please? Okay. So
someone is saying, can we also use the concatenation in print? Can we also use the concatenation in the print function for the first name and the last name instead of going through the format? Yeah. The reason why we're using the dot format is whenever you're dynamically collecting values from your user and then displaying. But you can also use the concatenation. But this is a little bit efficient because this function is built into Python to serve that purpose specifically. So I think it's better for you to use the format or whatever to enhance readability, because whenever some people are reading your code, they know that there's a format here, and they know that these values inside the format function is what you want to put in those brackets. Someone is asking, can Python be used for embedded system programming? Definitely. Python can be used for embedded system programming.
Okay. Any other question?
Any other question? So what type of microcontroller can I program using Python? You can be able to you can use I use ESP32 and ESP86 for my robotics programming. But this is a little bit advanced because we are covering the basics of Python here. Maybe in our future classes we are going to be doing maybe robotics and web development. So this is a little bit advanced. But for your case, you can be able to use ESP86, or if you want to build maybe something nice, you can maybe use ESP32. Yeah, as well. Or Raspberry Pi. I use Raspberry Pi to create intelligent robots that can be able to view and navigate the environment. So in order to create such an advanced robotics, you can use Raspberry Pi. because Raspberry Pi goes well with Python.
Okay. I think it's at this point of
So
the day that we come to the end of the day 3 of this training program.
someone
Mr. Irma, want to
someone is asking,
okay,
someone
can
is
I
asking,
convert
can I
Python
convert
code
Python?
to Java or C and vice versa?
No, I don't think it's advisable for you to convert Python code to Java or C Sharp or vice versa. But it is doable, but it is intensive. It is too complex for you to write a Python code and then convert it to Java. There are some complex algorithms that can be able to convert one programming syntax to another programming syntax, but it's just tedious. It's just like reinventing the wheel. So it's better for you to choose if you're going with Python, you use Python. If you're going with Java or C Sharp, you use Java or C Sharp. And there are other functions that are built into Python in order to manipulate strings. So, but we don't have enough time to cover them. So, but they are really key for you to learn because it will go a long way. But I'm going to maybe create a little tutorial after this class and then upload it as a video for you guys maybe to be. And I'm currently designing a Python cheat sheet where you can be able to be seeing all these functions. So you don't have to memorize all these built-in functions. You don't have to memorize them. You just know that they exist, and whenever you want to use them in your programs, you just look for them. The key is knowing that they exist. You don't have to prompt anything. You know that you can convert your input to a lowercase. So whenever you're trying to program, you just say, or you just Google it, how do I convert an input from a user to a lowercase? And then the function pops up and then you put it in the program. You don't have to memorize anything.
Okay. Thank you very much, Irma, Ike, Mohammed, for this wonderful presentation for today. Thanks to all those who took out time to be part of the training program for today as well. Thanks to those who followed via Facebook, as well as those who were live with us on YouTube on Zoom. However, we'll continue the training tomorrow, same time, 9 p.m. on the dot. We'll be commencing. Let's try to work with the assignments that are dropped in the platform, and we should be active, and we should try to do more research out of our own, and we should be dedicated to this training, and not just dedication, we should be committed. Thank you all once more. It's at this point, I think we come to the end of this day. Any other question that has not been answered should be dropped in the WhatsApp platforms, and it will be channeled to the facilitator who will address it tomorrow before the start of our tomorrow's training. Thank you.